Hey guys, how's it going? Laura with Garden Answer. Today I want to show you how you can set up a drip system in your raised beds. And I'm hoping that this video eliminates some of the mystery that surrounds drip systems, because I know it can seem like there's a ton of different options and different connectors and all that stuff, but there's really not that many. So I just want to quickly go through kind of some of the options, starting with the size. So there's only two different sizes that I know of available of drip tubing. There's 1/2 inch size and there's 1/4 inch. So let me talk about the 1/4 inch first. First of all, there is just plain vinyl tubing. This doesn't have any holes in it. You actually have to put emitters in it to get water to your plants. So I actually don't use this one in a vegetable garden situation. I use this more in the landscape to get water to an individual root ball. Then there's 1/4 inch soaker hose. So the water just goes through this hose and it seeps out uniformly. And that's actually what I'm going to be using in my garden this year. And then there's 1/4 inch tubing that has holes every 6 inches. So the only difference really between these two is that you may have to run this one a little bit longer to make sure that the water coverage is really even. And then with your 1/2 inch tubing, you have the same exact options. You have the 1/2 inch size that has no holes in it. You have the 1/2 inch size that has holes every 12 to 18 inches usually. And then you have your 1/2 inch size soaker hose, which I don't have an example of here because I don't use that one very often. The reason I'm using 1/4 inch soaker hose in my vegetable garden beds is because it's super flexible. So I don't have to use very many connectors at all. I can just snake it through my beds and then just cap it at the end and I'm done. I also like the fact that it waters very uniformly. A lot of times I plant things very close together. So I like the fact that I know that everything's getting the equal amounts of water. This is just really good in situations where you're planting things very close together. So let me clear off all of this stuff and I'll show you my setup that I've got going on, and then I'll actually demonstrate it for you in another bed. I have 12 raised beds in my vegetable garden area, and I have an individual faucet in the corner of each bed. And I know that that's not typical for most garden spaces, but we were tearing this area up anyway when I was getting the whole space ready. So I thought it would be nice to be able to individually control each one of our beds. So let's get in close and I'll show you the setup. So the first thing you want to attach to your faucet is a backflow preventer. And I actually am going to skip this because I have a backflow preventer already included in my system further down the line, but this is super important to remember to put on. After you attach your backflow preventer, you want to make sure to use a pressure regulator. This is also something that I'm not going to use because we don't have very high pressure here and haven't had a problem with this in the past, but we always keep our eye on it and we can always throw one of these in if we need to. So it goes together like this. And this whole thing would attach to your faucet. The next step is to attach your adapter, which adapts from a normal faucet size diameter down to our 1/4 inch tubing. So in a normal setup, we would have our backflow preventer, our pressure regulator, and then our adapter before our tubing starts. But in my situation, I'm just using the adapter attached to my faucet. So then you can see I used a really short piece of vinyl tubing to go from my adapter to my soaker hose because I was having a hard time trying to get my soaker hose up into the adapter because this was just a little too flexible. So I used a short piece of that, then a straight coupler, and then my soaker hose. So then my soaker hose just follows the bed to the end and then loops around, comes back down, and loops back up again. And so you can do that just as many times as you need to. I used landscape staples to help hold down my tubing wherever I needed it to be. Now I want to go over a couple of different options for more of a typical garden setup where you've got one hose faucet that's feeding your entire garden area. So what I recommend that you get first is a good timer. This will make your life a whole lot easier. There are all different kinds out there. I've got a couple here to show you. This one's from DigCorp. It's really simple to use. You attach it to your hose faucet right here, and you can select how many minutes you want it to run and then at what interval. So you can go from every 6 hours to every 7 days. Super simple to operate. I really like this kind. And then we've got this one here. This one goes into 4, so you can run 4 hoses or 4 drip lines off of it. This one's from Melnor, and this one's actually Wi-Fi, so you can download an app and you can run it from your phone. You can also manually turn it on and off right here. All right, so I'm going to use this as my example because it's really simple. So imagine that this end is hooked to your faucet. You'll still want to use a backflow preventer and a pressure regulator. You attach those together and then screw that on the bottom. And if you're running your entire garden area from one faucet, you'll definitely want to use 1/2 inch hose instead of 1/4 inch. You don't want to neck it down too much. And then you want to put your adapter on, and there are a few different types available. There's this type right here, which you can screw on, and then you can just pop your drip tubing right into the end. So I've got a piece right here. Looks like quite the contraption at this point. So you can just push your drip tubing right in there, and then that's pretty much it. There's also this type here you can screw in there and you can take off in 2 different directions just in case your hose is kind of like right in the middle of your garden space. Then you can go right and left. So imagine this 1/2 inch tubing is a lot longer than the piece I have right here because they usually come in 100-foot rolls. You'll want to have this go maybe along the back side of your garden, run it as long as your garden is, and then you'll want to cap it. So to do that, there's a couple different ways. I like to use these right here. These are really easy caps to use. You slide it in and then you bend the tubing and slide it through the other hole. Like that. So it just kinks it and stops the water flow. So now imagine that this piece of tubing is running behind your garden space. So now we need to tap in wherever your raised beds are so that we can get the tubing up into your raised beds and get water to your plants. A couple different ways you can do that. If you want to continue to use 1/2-inch tubing, we need to use a 1/2-inch coupler. This is a T coupler right here. So to do this, we're just going to cut the tubing wherever your raised bed is, like this. We're going to put this T in. And it's usually pretty easy to put these couplers in like that. Then you can use the 1/2-inch soaker hose or the 1/2-inch hose that has the holes ever so often, and you just push that on like that. And that way you've actually got active water going into this tube, and it can go out the holes or out the soaker hose and water your plants. The other way that you can tap into this line, if you want to go down to 1/4-inch size, you'll need a punch tool, looks like this. You'll need to punch a hole in your tubing, kind of like that, and then you'll need a coupler. So this is a straight coupler right there. We'll push that into the tubing. You can hear it pop so you know it's secure, and then you can attach your soaker hose or your drip hose, whatever you're using, just like that. And just imagine that all these hoses are longer and they're running to all of your plants. I just wanted to show you kind of up close different ways that you can hook in and different methods you can use depending on what you want to do in your garden space. And then to cap your 1/4-inch tubing, you'll just use a little plug. They look like this, and you just push it into one end. So whenever you get to the end of your raised bed, you just plug it with one of those and you're good to go. And if you're using the 1/2-inch drip tube, you'll kink this one the same way that we kinked the first 1/2-inch tube we ran. I'll try my very best to put all the links to everything I've talked about in today's video down below in the description, so you can go check it out if you want to learn a little bit more. There is another way that you can do this especially if you're a beginner, that might be easier for you. There are kits available out there. So this one right here is from Gardener Supply, drip line kit, and it has everything that you need, including 100 foot of drip tubing to get you started. So let me show you the picture on the back so you can see what this one does. You can see right there it hooks into your faucet, it runs behind your garden space, and then you tap in and you can run your drip down your rows or down your raised beds, whatever you've got going. So I will leave a link to this down below. I just think that this is a really good way, especially for beginners, to get everything all in one box. It kind of eliminates some confusion. But this right here is much better suited for vegetable gardening, raised bed type of gardening, not containers, which we are going to be doing a video about how to set up drip in containers. So stay tuned for that one. I just think that setting up drip is so worth the effort and even the initial costs and the time it takes to set it up in the beginning. Unless you live in paradise and it rains all the time, I mean, it just saves so much time. We live in high desert and we have to water all the time. So having water going on everything and me not having to worry about it or drag a hose to everything every day is just so wonderful. It's also more efficient. It waters everything more efficiently, saves water, keeps water from getting on the foliage of your plants, which if you have hard water like we do, it leaves white residue on everything. Plants just seem to grow better getting water from underneath like that. So that's pretty much it, you guys. I really hope that this video was helpful and not confusing. But we will be doing more videos about setting up drip in flower beds, we're hoping to anyway, and setting up drip in containers so that you can see what we do here in our garden. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.